Let me just say this. If it comes to a book on Audible, I'm gonna listen to it because that's just how I am. Real love doesn't knock your socks off. It holds up a mirror. Most of these books are by Black authors. Each chapter is like a different part of like his anxiety and things that he's dealt with. And then at the end of the chapter, his therapist gets on and kind of breaks down what he's dealing with in medical terminology. He basically just puts us all the way up on game of how to negotiate anything that you may want out of life. And we're gonna need more wine, like keep the wine coming because I got some tea to spill.
I work when I want, I do what I want. She get what she want, I call her mom when she want. Wash it off when you tie me off, you know I be slow.
What's up YouTube? It's your girl Samantha and I am back with another banger video. When I say banger video, I mean literally this video is the one. I'm so excited. I'm unapologetically switching it up a little bit and I'm gonna get into some book content because to be honest, I am a huge book lover. I'm a full-on nerd and the purpose of this channel is really to like give out value and real things that you can apply into your life and help you grow to be a better person inside and out, financially, spiritually, mentally, like it's all aligned, baby. So today I'm gonna be talking about some of my personal favorite books that literally answer the question when people are like, what should I read? What are you trying to get out of this? Like, do you want a book that's gonna put you on point financially? You want a book that is gonna help you just be entertained for a little bit? You need something to lift your spirits? Like, are you looking for a deep story? You wanna hear about rags to riches? Like, you wanna laugh a little bit? Like, what kind of book are you looking for? You just want to feel empowered. So I made a list of books. I did a must read, an entertaining book, a great story, an empowering book, a healing book, a mental health book, a timeless book is the last one. So I'm gonna go through each of those categories and break down the book that I would suggest to you from there. And I'm gonna just say off the back, all these books are 10 out of 10. And I have so many more books I wanna talk about. Can y'all tell how excited I am? Because I'm bringing y'all book content. That's what we're gonna be talking about. So definitely let me know if any of these books you want a full review on because I do wanna get into some real book reviews. But for now, let's talk about what book you should read. I wanted to start off on the best possible note with the book that is just straight up a must read. So this book is called Never Split the Difference by Voss. I actually came along this book because I'm a part of a mentorship group based on the trucking and logistics industry, and this book is a book on negotiations. So they give you the skills that can be applied to negotiations on all levels, like from negotiating with your significant other, negotiating with your children, negotiating with a boss for a job, negotiating in real estate with like a price point, which you're buying or selling a house, and just all the way up. Like, negotiating in life is so important. So this book talks about 9 effective strategies. For example, some of them were like finding a black swan, being a mirror, and learning how to set an anchor. So the person that I listened to this book on Audible, which I highly suggest. I'm gonna drop my Audible link in the description. You get 1 free book if you use my link. So basically, the beauty of Audible is it helps you get through the books way faster, and one major part is that most of the time the author is reading it. So this one is actually read by Voss. So Voss is actually an FBI agent, if I recall correctly, but he dealt with hostage negotiations. So as you can imagine, his negotiation skills are A1. And then he also was like a professor at like Harvard or some college and taught classes, and he basically just puts us all the way up on game of how to negotiate anything that you may want out of life. And I feel like everybody needs this book. If you don't read anything from this list, go get this book. It's such a great read or listen. Next up, I gave you guys a very entertaining book, and this, I'm gonna have to say, was the Autobiography of Gucci Mane. So this is a book I actually read in physical copy, and I could not put this book down. It was probably the first book I ever read that I honestly felt that way. Like I was fighting sleep to stay up reading it because it was such a real, raw, honest book. he started writing the book while he was actually in prison, and he goes into detail about basically his whole life story, in and out of jail, like all his beefs, like a lot of the different charges he caught. It breaks down it gives you a better idea of like the dynamic of hip-hop, especially in Atlanta, because it talks about like his relationships, who he came up with, who his enemies were, key players in the game. So you kind of just learn a lot about like the Atlanta culture back in the day. Talks about a lot of like his time in the studio, different like events that happened. And for some reason, one part that really stood out to me was him talking about when he first went to jail and he had to detox off of lean. And he said that literally he lost like X amount of pounds just because lean makes you so constipated. And he literally just was like,
let's begin blending these
out all this weight. His bowel movements were slowed down so much just from drinking lean. I don't know why, but that part just stands out to me. So yeah, very entertaining, a great read, 10 out of 10, the Autobiography of Gucci Mane. And that's coming from someone who's read like most rappers' books. I'm gonna go ahead and say that out of all the rappers' books I've read, the Autobiography of Gucci Mane definitely takes the cake. So after that, we have a great story. When I say this is a great story, I mean like she should have wrote a movie because it is so good. So this book is We're Gonna Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union. And off the back, the title is just lit to me because like in the beginning of the book, she basically is like, yeah, again, I listened to this on Audible. And so it was her reading it, which just touches your soul. But anyway, so she's like setting the mood. Imagine me and you are sitting at dinner and I'm telling you all these stories that you just never want to tell anybody, and you just look up the waiter and you're like, we're gonna need more wine, like keep the wine coming because I got some tea to spill. And like that's basically what happened. She really just is very vulnerable in this book and like tells all her dirt and what it was like for her growing up, relationships with her parents, even a story about sexual abuse, and like this just so much like real, raw, honest truth. And also she ended up writing another book called Do You Have Anything Stronger as her second one. And my dear friend Kate actually bought us tickets to go to like the book premiere and flew out to Atlanta so that we could go. And it was such a dope experience because she did like a Q&A with the audience, and she really talked about how her inspiration behind these books were to like open up these conversations so that when people are like, how are you, and we don't just say good. Like good is such just a conversational thing, like being able to say like, look, actually I'm this, I'm that, I feel this way, I feel that way. So right now I want to take a moment and ask you guys, how are you really? Like comment below. I don't want to hear no I'm good, I'm all right, I'm bad. If you're good, tell me why. If you're bad, tell me why. If you're okay, tell me why. Because this just opens the lines of communication and connection, and it's just so important to have these real conversations so that we can move forward and we're actually getting value out of a conversation and not just having it to have it to pass by and move on. For real, Gabrielle Union, you did your thug this a long time. The next book I had is a book that really just made me feel empowered. Okay, so this is called The Wealth Choice by Dennis Kimbro. I did listen to this book on Audible as well. Basically all these I listened to on Audible. Call me a cheater if you want, but I got the knowledge. This book is basically also, let me just say this. If it comes to a book on Audible, I'm gonna listen to it because that's just how I am. But anyways, most of these books are by Black authors. So obviously the Autobiography of Gucci Mane is, We're Gonna Need More Wine is a Black author, and then The Wealth Choice, Dennis Kimbro is a Black author as well. It's actually about like the Black wealth choice, and it talks a lot about different like numbers and statistics and stories. Basically he interviewed 1,000 of the wealthiest African Americans like Spike Lee, L.A. Reid, and a lot of other ones. And I feel like it's basically just like a whole history lesson, the way that they should have taught us in high school. I learned a lot in college, but basically just telling us how like the systems had us fucked up from day one, which we already knew, but really breaking down the details and showing us where things went wrong and exactly how to fix it, and the statistics, the numbers, the dates, the times, the people involved. Like this book is just like a huge financial awakening and really empowered me and made me feel like I wanted to make a better choice for my life. It also really taught a lot about how to have a wealth generating mindset and focused on short-term sacrifices and trade for long-term gains. So definitely read The Black Wealth Choice or listen on Audible, link in description. Okay, after that I went into a book that I really found healing. So this book was actually, I let one of my friends have my Audible login and she bought this book. It was not my choice and it was called Single on Purpose by John Kim. And I was like, it wouldn't have been a book that I would have picked. But once I read it, just because I feel like the title is misleading, but I learned that this book wasn't really like, even though I am single, it wasn't really like a singles book. It was more on individuality and independence and like your relationship with yourself. So I pulled a quote from this book that really just me, like this wraps up the book. The quote goes, "Real love doesn't knock your socks off, it holds up a mirror." Okay, I'm gonna tell that again. Real love doesn't knock your socks off, it holds up a mirror. I love that so much. Like, I basically use this quote a lot. If you haven't heard me say it in other videos, like I believe in like when things get rough, it introduces you to yourself. And I'm trying to think of a way to explain it, but basically like I live for moments when I can find out who I really am. And I think that's mainly in my head. The best I can think of is like in hard times when you have to make decisions that are purely based off your principle and your morals, and you learn what type of person you are. And I feel like that is so deep to say, like that's what true love is. And real love is like someone who shows you who you really are and brings out the true you and accepts that true you and helps you find your way back to you. So I really that part. More on John Kim. He also wrote another book called The Angry Therapist. He is a therapist, so it really did have like a backbone behind everything he was saying. I did find this book very therapeutic for me as an individual, and just teaching me how to really love myself and accept myself and know that everything I'm going through is kind of just like normal. One thing I really liked about his book is it was very down to earth. Like he swears a lot in his book. Some of the chapters are called like Now Go F Someone or The First Time I Did Molly, and you know, he really puts his own flaws and himself out there too. It was very easy to relate to him, very easygoing, easy read or listen. I'm sure it'd be an easy read too, but I definitely recommend this book, Single on Purpose. Even if you're not single, it basically, especially if you're not single, I feel like even more so, because it teaches you how to love yourself and be an individual even if you're with someone else. Thank you, Miss Rashida, for that book recommendation. Okay, moving on. Okay, we have two more. Stick with me, guys. So this one was a very good mental health book, and again, a Black author, Charlemagne the God. Okay, y'all, I never thought that he would, like, I'm not gonna say I never thought that he would be a good author, but like I was like, interesting, because first I read his book called Black Privilege, but the book that I'm telling you guys to read now is called Shook One. Also read Black Privilege because it's basically kind of like his autobiography and talks about how you have to play the hand that you're dealt and use it to your advantage. However, Shook One is a little bit different. It's basically a mental health book, and it's basically a back and forth. Each chapter is like a different part of like his anxiety and things that he's dealt with. And then at the end of the chapter, his therapist gets on and kind of breaks down what he's dealing with in medical terminology and kind of like explains like how to deal with it, how to heal from it. Like it's basically like a long conversation between him and his therapist, which is super dope. And I feel like it's awesome, especially for a Black man to come out, and like he's in entertainment.
I was literally just keeping a journal of all my therapy sessions. So I was keeping a journal of things that, you know, give me anxiety now, things that have historically given me anxiety, and then, you know, when you're sitting in therapy, you just start unpacking all kind of stuff. So it just became the pages.
Some of his chapters, one is called like Blackanoid and Periantal Paranoia, and it's just a really good book, especially for men. I feel like it really breaks down those barriers, and I feel like unfortunately in like a lot of Black households, like we don't really talk about mental health, especially for men. Like it'll be seen as weak, and men don't really get therapy and seek help and acknowledge the things they're going through. And this book really just, like, all these books, I think I value them for their vulnerability. But I'm gonna move on to the last book, and this book is just timeless. You can recommend this book to anybody and they can get something out of it. This book I read over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Like, where do I begin? I know that most people have probably already heard with it, so I tried to leave off the cliche books, but this one just is absolutely notable every single time. Also, he wrote The Art of Seduction and Mastery, and then the 50th Law. So first off, the 48 Laws of Power is basically like 48 laws to, I guess, acquire power, and it goes into detail. It usually tells like a story like from a long time ago, for the most part, like different ancient stories of like kings and queens and yada yada yada, and then it talks about a reversal of the law. So like when to use it, when not to use it, when to do the opposite. And I want to go over just like a few of my favorite laws from it really quick. So the first one I wrote down was concentrate your forces. The next one is use your absence to raise your value. Let your victims feel smarter. And then the last one I wrote down was win through actions, not arguments. So it's a very good book because the way you read it, like the chapters, I'm not gonna say they don't correlate, but you can really, like, you know, it's a good table book even. You can open it and just start reading it. It's a good book that I listen to when I go to bed. And The Art of Seduction is kindly set up similarly. It goes through like different like types of characters, personality types, and talks about like different historical stories of how to seduce each type of character. So yeah, those are my book suggestions for any type of mood you're in. So let me know, please. I need some, gonna make some more book content. I'm gonna make some more book content. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. This might even just turn into a book review channel. Don't say I didn't warn you. So if you're here for the book reviews, go ahead and subscribe, because I got more coming. Right now, y'all, I'm listening to, okay, let me just give y'all a little preview of what's to come. Because right now, I just finished up Rick Ross, The Perfect Way to Boss Up. And right now, I'm reading Will. And I'm definitely gonna do book reviews on both of those. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe, for sure. Subscribe. Comment any questions. Let me know if you've read these books, what books you recommend. I'm open for a book recommendation. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night. It's Valentine's Day. You guys are my Valentine.
Let's begin blending.
Okay, I'm not gonna waste your time. No.